Thank you very much for this generous introduction. Bismillah ar-Rahman Rahim, Executive Director, Center for International Strategic Studies, AJK, distinguished panelists, scholars of arms control. I wish to begin with congratulating CISS AJK for choosing to deliberate upon this very topical issue, the elephant in the room, so-called, as well as the opportunity for me to express my views. It is a privilege to speak amongst a group of stalwarts amongst the arms control community. Dr. Asma Khaja, Dr. Zahir Kazmi, Dr. Zafar Khan, and Dr. Rizwana Abbasi, all of whom I have witnessed over the years growing into a formidable and highly specialized group. Today, we examine one of the most consequential and perhaps the most uncomfortable tensions at the heart of the global nuclear order: the tension between the universal language of non-proliferation and the selectively applied standards that govern how that language is actually enforced. The title of this conference, Universalism versus Selectivity, is not merely an academic provocation. In my view, it captures a lived reality that Pakistan, and as indeed much of the developing world, has navigated for over 5 decades. A lot has been said artfully by the other speakers, which I'm sure will lead to further reflection. And I'll be invariably re-echoing several of those thoughts. So my task today is to articulate Pakistan's perspective on equity, non-discrimination, and responsible nuclear conduct, not from a posture of grievance, but from a principled commitment to an international order that is genuinely rules-based and not merely rules convenient. The global non-proliferation regime, as currently structured and selectively implemented, contains deep structural asymmetries. These asymmetries do not merely undermine Pakistan's national interest. They undermine the credibility, coherence, and long-term viability of the regime itself. So over the next few minutes, I will make 3 interconnected arguments, even at the cost of stating the obvious. I'll try minimizing those thoughts that have been echoed, but I will probably fail in some of those thoughts and will be re-echoing them. So 3 things. First, that the NPT framework is built on a fundamentally discriminatory premise that has been compounded, not corrected, by decades of selective implementation. Second, that Pakistan's position outside of the NPT is not a defiance of international norms, but a principled response to a security environment that the regime itself helped create. And third, that Pakistan's actual nuclear conduct not only meets, but in several respects exceeds the standards of responsibility that the international community should demand of all nuclear armed states. So let me begin with the first thought on the structural inequity. We know that at its core, NPT enshrined a bargain, 5 states that have tested nuclear weapons before 1st of January 1967, and all others were to forswear nuclear weapons entirely in exchange for peaceful technology and commitment by the P5 to pursue nuclear disarmament. That was how it was supposed to be. There was this anecdotal thought that if you could change one character in the text of NPT, not a word, but a character, India would have rushed to join it if 1967 was 1977. So that's how the things change. So that grand bargain from its basis and from its beginning was asymmetric by design. The 1967 cutoff was not derived from any moral or legal principle. It was a political convenience, a temporal line drawn to legitimize the arsenal of those who already had nuclear weapons, while permanently foreclosing the path for everyone else. So Article 6 of the NPT has been mentioned, obligates all parties to pursue negotiations in good faith for complete nuclear disarmament. This was the foundational quid pro quo of the entire treaty architecture. That ought to have been led by the P5. What do we see now, more than 55 years later? The obligation is largely unfulfilled. The P5 nuclear arsenals have modernized, not eliminated. All are investing in new warhead design, new delivery systems, and extended deterrence postures. There is no credible multilateral disarmament framework on the horizon. We've heard this, that previous NPT conferences ended without final documents, and the one that commences today, it will be more challenging in my view, given the hot wars during the last 2 or 3 years. The recognized nuclear powers, the NPT recognized nuclear powers, press ahead with modernization program worth billions of dollars. The asymmetry is not incidental, it's structural. So a very obvious understanding will be the case study of selective implication is the Indian exception. Nothing illustrates the regime's selective application more vividly than this. The 2005 US-India Civil Nuclear Cooperation Agreement, and then the 2008 NSG waiver extended to India. India, like Pakistan, never joined NPT. It conducted its first test in 74 and another series in 98. For decades, both India and Pakistan faced nuclear trade restrictions. And then, in a geopolitically motivated decision, the US negotiated an agreement that granted India access to civil nuclear commerce without requiring India to join NPT, without requiring India to open its nuclear facilities to safeguards, without requiring any disarmament commitment whatsoever. So this country-specific exemption was not a principled evaluation of the regime. It was a preferential accommodation driven by strategic and commercial interests. So several of you know amongst the audience that Pakistan applied for NSG membership